Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be showing you guys part 2 of my ranking of all the Wings of Fire characters. If you haven't yet seen part 1, go do so before watching. But before we begin, a huge shout out to my patrons, 3 Moons and Dragon95. Thank you both so much for supporting me. Links to their social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Moonwatcher, yet another example of this. During her book, she was awesome, relatable, nice, just overall amazing. And then after her book, she just becomes a total Mary Sue who feels like no emotion that makes any sense or is realistic or logical at all, and she's just totally bland. 100% bland. And I did not like that. But I would say, if we're talking about the moon in her book, she would be an awesome, probably. So, I will give her that, but I think after that, oh man, does she become such an annoying character, really. Magnificent. I do not like Magnificent, and I'm not supposed to, which is a good thing. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm not supposed to like her, and I think that's done really well, especially to show kind of the ignorance of the Rainwings at the time, so. Mangrove, one of the only characters that actually cares about other characters, in Arc 1, for the Rainwings especially. Putting him in awesome. He was a huge fan to me, like I said before, one of the best parts of the Hidden Kingdom, totally new character from what we had seen anywhere else so far in the series, and probably still to this day. He just really had so much love inside of him, and he was really good. Just incredibly good. Marsh, don't know enough. Most of Clay's siblings, we don't really know enough, so I'm just going to put a lot of them there. Mastermind. I am conflicted. I'm going to put him in not very good because of all the terrible things he had done, but he did seem like he cared for Starflight decently, not enough to notice how he was feeling, or probably really care if he would have noticed and picked up on it, but I don't really know how to feel, but I think not very good is a good tier for him, so. Mind Reader. We don't know enough, but we did get to see a little bit. I enjoyed his line that was out to me about, wondering what the real world was like outside of the volcano, the sky and the trees. So I'll put him a decent neutral for that, but again, we also don't know enough. But that one line alone kind of made him stand out a little bit to me and showed some of his true self, even if he did kind of put on an act before and after that. Mighty Claws is written super great, to be honest. I'm not sure where he would fall in this ranking, though. I'm gonna go with pretty good. Another one we see a decent amount of Mighty Claws content, but that scene in the art cave is really the biggest example, and I thought it was a good scene, and I really liked how it was done, especially with showing the tension between the two characters, even though they're both from the same tribe, and that was a really good contrast in the book, because from the relationships we had seen in the school, everyone was really hanging out with their own tribe, no one really was hanging out with other tribes, and then you expect Moon to be able to bond with the other Nightwings, even though she didn't grow up with them. You think, oh, they're from the same tribe, you think they'd accept her, right? And no, the story does a good job of showing that. Just because you're from the same place doesn't mean people are gonna like you, So I enjoyed that part of the story. It's a good thing to look into, and I like how that scene played out, so I'm putting Mighty Claws up relatively high because of it. Mink. Mink is a character, I would say I enjoyed. I'm gonna leave her. I know we got to see a semi-decent amount of Mink content in The Dangerous Gift, but I'm still gonna say we don't know enough. She's too little, or at least kind of behaves like she's too little, for us to really get a good idea of her true character. She seems like a great and nice dragon and stuff. I'm sure she's gonna have a wonderful life, be a really good dragon and everything like that, but I'm just gonna put her in simply don't know enough. Don't really have anything to say about her. I wouldn't say I hate Ochre, but in general, his writing is just not good. He's the one falsehood of destiny that, barely anyone can really like. He's void of all personality. His only trait is just liking food, and he's not like Clay at all. He's like the opposite Clay. He doesn't care about anyone, and literally, he was only written as opposite Clay. Likes food, but hates dragons. That's the only thing. He doesn't care about anyone around him, and he could have been done maybe with some kind of sympathy or empathy going on towards the end. They could have done some kind of change, and we did not get it. I know not everyone changes, but I think that would have been good for his character. because he comes off lazily written. I'm kind of sorry to say it. Moorhen. Moorhen is so greatly complex, and I love it so much. One of my favorite of the modern queens. She is so awesome. Moorhen is just great. The dream sequence especially, with Sunny in the Dream Visitor, oh my goodness, that really just, it spoke a lot about Moorhen's character, mostly internal as well, and I'd love to see more of her, and the Mudwings as a whole. It's been a long time since I've read The Lost Heir, so I don't remember, specifics about Moray's character, but I remember not liking her, so I will put her in probably hate. I could be wrong, maybe there's some deep stuff going on that I'm just not being able to recall, but I did not like her when I was reading, so I'm still going to stick with that thought. So now we have Morosir. Morosir is a character I've really grown to respect, especially over time. He was a really well done villain, and especially during The Dark Secret, he was just awesome. I'm going to put him really high on this list, actually. Now we have Nautilus. Nautilus is a character who's one of the founders of the Talons of Peace. We don't know a ton about him, but he seems to be fairly corrupt and kind of willing to test morality, I guess, in a way. So I'm going to say that, I guess I'd say I don't like him a lot. Bordering between not very good, just not written well as a character at all, not interesting in the slightest way, and the things he's done, just knowingly, it's really bad. Okay, so I actually kind of liked Nettle, especially for more of the jokes and stuff, like Bumblebee mocking her and stuff. So she was quite enjoyable for me. I get she's supposed to be annoying, that's kind of the point. I'll put her in pretty good. I don't have an insanely strong opinion of her. She's a huge favorite for me, but I actually enjoyed it. Now we have Vigilance, the Nightwing Queen during Darkstalker's time. Okay, hear me out. She's a really underrated character. Not an amazing one, but still really underrated, and I actually kind of liked her. Just as a character in general. And she was written really well in a lot of ways, to be honest, with her traits. She seemed quite realistic of a dragon. Especially one of the queens. So I'd put her pretty good, to be honest. And that tier is quite large. There aren't a ton of Wings of Fire characters I despise. Now we have Peacemaker. I'm gonna say not very good. I don't like the way Peacemaker was necessarily written in the book, but I have my own idea for how I'd want him to become, which you guys will see in due time. But from the canon version, not a Peacemaker fan. He kind of just came off as really annoying and needy and didn't have much of a personality other than just, he's the opposite of Darkstalker, So he wasn't anything special, really. Ooh, Onyx is yet another underrated one, so I'm gonna probably put her in pretty good. She was a good part of Moon Rising, pretty integral part, and as we get to see her more and more later in the arc, especially in Darkest of Dragons, she is a really fascinating character and quite different from some of the others we've gotten to see in the series, so she's a nice breath of fresh air and an overall intriguing character with most of her traits. Now we have Opal, again, one we don't know a ton about, but from what we got to see, I really liked Opal, to be honest. I'd love to learn more about her, maybe even on a winglet someday, I don't know, but Opal seems like a character we deserve some more content on. Now we have Orca, another one we don't know a lot about, but we did get to see some information. The only things we really know are from what Coral has said, so I know Coral's probably biased and stuff. And we did get to see it, I think, from Moray as well. So, Orca, I don't really know how to judge her too much, because we haven't seen a lot, but I'll put her in neutral. I don't have many thoughts about her. I think she's a good, kind of antagonistic character. I like that, and she has so much potential. She'd be really high if we got to see actually more of her character, at least in some kind of flashback, or maybe more stories, so Orca 100% deserves a winglet. Then she'd definitely be higher. As a character, just by itself, I like her a lot. Now we have Orchid. I love Orchid and Mangrove so much, like I was talking about earlier. They are just such a great couple, and the lengths they go to for each other were so heartwarming. They're a total breath of fresh air from any of their characters we've gotten to see, especially relationship. And they were really awesome, and probably one of the best parts of the Hidden Kingdom. And we have Osprey, an underrated gem. Of course, I am putting him in either pretty good or I'm gonna go with awesome. Osprey was one of the only dragons who showed Pearl kindness, and I was sad to see him go so soon. We need some kind of Osprey winglet or something. Please, I'd love to know more about this Skywing. Now we have Ostrich. Well, I didn't care for or really notice Ostrich that much upon, my first read of Arc 2. When I was reading the Moonrising graphic novel, I was like, oh wow, I did not remember Ostrich being this good. So, looking back in it, I actually like her a lot more than I initially did, so my feelings have quite changed. I'm going to go with pretty good on this one. I think she was an interesting dragon, had a lot going on with her, and some of the scenes with 𝙈𝙤𝙀, especially, and the other Sandwings, I just adored. Now we have Palm. I do not like Palm. Now, Prickle, on the other hand, which we will be getting to relatively soon, I love a lot more. Palm, the love story with Smolder could have gotten some more development. I would have loved to see a little bit more. I like the whole, forbidden love story going on with those two Sandwings, but Palm herself, in general, is kind of a blank character, although I'll give her decent/neutral. You know what? I'll give her that. I'll do it. I don't see many problems with her overall, although I do prefer her sister, because her sister has a lot more untapped potential. And now we have Rattlesnake. I'm pretty sure Rattlesnake was one of 𝙈𝙀𝙀's brothers, and you know where I'm gonna put him, just like with his mom. 𝙈𝙀𝙀's family is terrible, and I feel so bad for him. They are absolute monsters of dragons. Now we have Peril. Probably my favorite character in the entire series, if I'm gonna be honest. I literally love Peril. Peril and Turtle are top 2 for me, easily. She 100% deserves the absolutely amazing tier. She is just on top, stood out to me so much. She's just, overall, has so many layers to her, and seeing her powers, and how she copes with everything, and even her point of view, it was all really cool, and Peril is truly one of a kind. Pheasant is another one that I simply don't know enough. Clay's siblings, they weren't featured a ton, except for Sora and Umber, so it wouldn't feel right to judge them, although they are good dragons regardless. Now we have Pike. I didn't mind Pike that much, to be honest. I didn't mind him. I would say he's pretty good. Again, we didn't get to see, a plethora of information about Pike, but from what we got to see, I know he was supposed to be kind of annoying and overprotective, but that was his point in the story, so I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest. He seemed like a realistic dragon, especially with that kind of a role at such a young age. Now we have Pineapple. Pineapple is one I am a bit iffy on, because I'm going to put him in pretty good, by the way. Thing is that Pineapple was good in some parts of Flames of Hope, but in other parts he was really bland. I don't know what happened. He just kind of switched from being, really interesting to being really bland. A lot of his traits were, hidden kind of deep, but I didn't really like it that much. It didn't sound like that fit with, the story they're trying to tell, or his character. It just seemed kind of weird. Why would you make that so deep in his character? Some things fell off, some things felt totally right, so I'll say pretty good, but he kind of wavers for me sometimes, although, as a whole, I did like him. Now we have Prey Hunter. I'm just simply going to put him in don't know enough. He died relatively early on, we don't see too much of him before that, so I don't think it's right to judge. I'd be interested to know a little more, though. And now we finally reach Prickle. Prickle is literally just seeming with potential. Oh my goodness, I hope Tui does something with Prickle, because it was, totally set up just for Onyx's story, and then, never done again. Prickle's just an insane prisoner. I'd love to see things maybe from her perspective, or maybe her tales from inside the prison, and how she perceives things, because she's really fascinating and, really just awesome. I love Prickle. I'm putting her in pretty good, kind of bordering awesome. Okay, now we have 𝙈𝙀𝙀. 𝙈𝙀𝙀 is one I really love. Primarily before his book, but I think during his book he's still good. He doesn't get some of the treatment that characters get after their POV book, but he also kind of does at the same time, so I'm not really sure, but we're talking about 𝙈𝙀𝙀 just throughout Arc 2, not Arc 3, then I would say he's absolutely amazing. 𝙈𝙀𝙀 was a huge standout, and I totally understand why he's a fan favorite. He was good in, pretty much every scene he was in. Secret Keeper was a semi-realistic character, which I appreciated. I'm not sure where she would fall on this list. I would say decent/neutral. I don't have any insanely negative feeling towards her. I mean, I wish she understood, or at least tried to understand her daughter a little bit better, but I'll leave it at neutral/decent. And we have Blob. Who doesn't like Blob? Come on, who doesn't? Blob was just adorable and a huge standout. I loved him so much. He's just an adorable little wooden octopus. Didn't do anything wrong in the world. Reed is one of Clay's siblings that we know a little bit more about, but I mean, I'm gonna go with just don't know enough. I might regret that later, but I don't have many thoughts about him. I haven't really given it too much attention, personally. Although I do like what's going on with some of Clay's siblings, so I'll leave him at that. Might change my mind later, I'm not sure. Oh, we have Rose. Rose/Flower is probably one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, of all the different humans. I'm not a huge scavenger fan, but I'm not like a scavenger hater, although I kind of don't really like them in the series. I know it's kind of an opinion that some people don't really like because that's what the majority says, but I will say Flower is pretty good. I think she's the most different. Well, Flower and Ren definitely stand out amongst the human characters we got in the scene, so I put her pretty good. Now we have Ruby, another one I'll put in that tier. She's grown on me a lot. I will admit she's grown on me a lot. I've kind of had some wavering opinions, nothing ever bad necessarily, but I would say she's pretty good. I loved her in Escaping Peril, and, the epic fight scene, that was awesome. So, I'm putting her pretty good. Lady Scarab! Oh my goodness, I love Lady Scarab. Lady Scarab and Jewel are my two absolute favorite Hivewings. I am putting her in awesome. She deserves the title. She is just iconic. She's a legend. She is outstanding. Now we have the one and only Queen Scarlet. Of course, I am putting Queen Scarlet. And absolutely amazing because she is my favorite villain in the entire series. I am very open about that. Scarlet is just peak. Oh my goodness, I love her so much. Every scene Scarlet's in would just get me so excited. I love Scarlet so much. She is one of my all-time favorite characters in the books, and maybe even of all time. I just love her that much. We didn't know a ton about Oasis, at least from what I remember. I'm gonna say decent / I'm wavering between these two tiers. I'm not quite sure where I'd put her. I guess I'll go with decent/neutral. I didn't have too many complaints about her, so I guess that's probably the best suited tier. Snowflake. Oh my goodness. Runaways is such a good winglet. I love Snowflake and Snowfox so much. They are put in the second highest tier because I literally just love them that much. They are so great. And Snowfox is coming up soon. Sequoia, the legendary Leafwing Queen. Oh my goodness, she's great. Total underrated queen. She's just awesome. I am putting her in... yeah, I'm gonna go with awesome. She was a huge leader, and she stepped up, and she was a huge motivation. And a really tough character as well, which I appreciated. And then we have Shark, another one we don't get to see a ton of, except for more negative stuff, obviously, because we're seeing things from Tsunami's perspective as well, but in general, he doesn't seem to be that forgiving of a character. I'm gonna say decent/neutral. I wouldn't say I have any, bad opinions about Shark. I thought he was quite a fascinating character. Don't have much against him other than, some of the stuff he was kind of getting up to. A little bit suspicious, but overall, nothing really I can say. And then we have Sirocco. Again, one of Keebler's family members treated him absolutely horribly, so I have to put them in. If you were on fire and I had water, I drink it, because all these dragons are just terrible. Although, not necessarily in writing for a few. Six Claws. Six Claws, one of the most underrated and beloved characters in the series. I am definitely putting him in awesome. He was a major standout. I love the Brightest Night to death. Oh my goodness. And then seeing him in Deserter, just, oh my goodness, I loved it so much. Hey guys, I think I like Six Claws. Okay, Sky. I'm conflicted majorly on Sky. Because I wanted to love him. I really did. But just, he's like 8 years old in the books, and he does not act like you'd think he's a dragonette. He acts like a dragonette. Like, they don't really have much of a reason for it in the story other than, like, he hasn't socialized with other dragons, but dragons' maturity, it grows rapidly. Just, Sky feels off to me. And he can be really annoying at times. I like really baby Sky, like meeting Ren. That was a nice scene, but everything else after that, I'm gonna say not very good. I don't despise Sky by any means, just not one I care for. Then we have Smolder. Smolder is such a contradictory character, he always kind of contradicts himself. He actually grows quite a bit. Really fascinating. There's so much going on with him, and I appreciate it a lot, so I actually enjoyed him. He was a good part, an integral part of The Brightest Night, so I'm gonna say pretty good. I wasn't expecting him actually to be as well written as he was. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. And he was a surprise standout in the conclusion arc one. Snowfall. Snowfall is another one of my absolute favorites. Probably top 3. Not gonna lie, probably top 3. I know it's an unpopular opinion. Most people do not like The Dangerous Gift, but I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorites. It was a huge change of pace from the rest of Arc 3, which was kind of boring. And Snowfall was a completely different character from any other POVs we've probably gotten. I mean, like, she did yell a lot, like Peril and Sundew, but in a different way. It was for totally different reasons. So Snowfall, her character development is probably the best in the entire series, if I'm gonna be completely honest here. Probably the best. Overall, I just loved her from the get-go. She has just so much with her, and so well written, so complex, everything. I just cannot help but fall in love with her, so Snowfall is one of my all-time favorites. And speaking of all-time favorites, Sunny is another one of those, because before The Brightest Night, I didn't care for Sunny that much, because, the rest of the Dragons of Destiny, and it's kind of toxic of them too, they didn't really appreciate her much or trust her really with anything. They kind of just saw her as like the little sibling, They didn't really let her have any kind of responsibility or be a leader. But then when The Brightest Night rolled around, that really changed my opinion on Sunny. And then even seeing her in Arc 2, Sunny is one character that actually was not hit by the POV curse, as I've called it. Because after her book, she was still really good. So Sunny was not ever ruined, which I'm super happy about. And she is absolutely amazing, one of my all-time favorites, in my top 10 for sure. Her book just changed my perspective entirely, and I love her so much. And now we have Snowfox. I mentioned her a little bit earlier. Snowfox and Snowflake were two characters that I really, really loved. I'm putting them incredibly high. They are so criminally underrated, it should be a crime, because they are so good and, no one talks about them. Just Runaway in general was a really nice winglet. I loved all the winglets. I'll say right now, I loved all of them. They were all really good. Sora. Sora, if you've seen my videos in the past, you might know that I think that Icicle shouldn't be villainized. I've explained all the reasons for that. And I don't think Sora should be villainized either. But even though she did do things that were wrong, I know she had a reason behind it. Doesn't obviously excuse what she did, but it does give an explanation. Just as a character, I will say pretty good, because there's a lot going on. I said a lot of characters so far. There's a lot going on with her. She's not just a one-dimensional character. There's so many layers, and I found it really interesting now looking back on it, seeing all the scenes of Sora, kind of sitting by herself and reading and scheming even. Being unaware of that, it really kind of hits you. Like seeing a threat that you didn't even know was there. Like, you trusted this dragon the whole time. So I appreciated that a lot about Sora's story. So I would say she's high. I used to not care for her as much, but I started to appreciate her more. I have said this before. Squid is probably my favorite of the False Dragons of Destiny. Major unpopular opinion, I know, and I've said this before. It was 3 a.m. when I was reading The Dark Secret, and I cried when Morrissey sent Squid away. I don't know why. I was just really tired and I was sad, and I cried. So I'm gonna say Squid is pretty good. He's not such a whiny character when you look deeper down, because the False Dragonettes of Destiny, man, They were given a terrible life, and even now, they're still not going to be fully accepted. I feel really bad for them. I might even do a video talking about the false dragons of destiny and what the mistakes the rulers of the towns of peace have had that really just affected the lives of these innocent dragons. I don't think Squid would be nearly as affected if any of this would have happened. Starflight. Ooh, I am deciding. This is one of the most difficult ones to put on this list because I'm not a major Starflight fan. I'm gonna say I'm not. He might be my... Well, I don't like Glory and Starflight out of the Rise of Destiny. I guess I'm gonna go with decent/neutral. I don't hate him by any way, in any way. I do not hate him. I don't hate him in any way, but not really one I cared about. He came off annoying in several scenes. I know some people relate to him, but I just didn't find myself relating to him that much. And not one I really cared for particularly. And especially during his book, his perspective is okay. Dark Secret is a really underrated book. Underrated and overhated book. So I appreciated some of the things we got to see from his perspective. But just in general, his character, not one that really resonated with me, to be honest. So Stone Mover is an interesting one because his whole love story with Thorn is really fascinating, and I liked it a lot, getting to learn about that. But the Stone Mover we actually get to see and interact with, kind of with the characters, is not really that interesting overall. So I'm gonna say decent/neutral, although I'd love to learn or really get a winglet about Thorn and Stone Mover's love story. I think that would put him way higher on my list. Just not being able to see it just kind of holds him back a lot for me. Strong Wing, just like with Fierce Teeth, he is so underrated. I am gonna put him in probably pretty good. Yeah, I'd put him with Fierce Teeth. He seems like an interesting character, and I liked him, He didn't need to be, incredibly complex or incredibly intelligent, He just was who he was, and I really liked that. It felt nice with this character. Now we have Sundew. I know I placed her quite low, if I remember correctly, on the original list. And my thoughts about Sundew, they changed. 100%, I do think she is, in a lot of ways, not every way, in a lot of ways, she is kind of a copy of Tsunami. So, she's not my favorite Leaf Wing, to put it plainly. I think there were other ones that I liked a lot more than her, and even in her own book, there were other characters that I liked more than her that kind of stole the show for me personally. I don't, hate Sundew at all. There are certain things in their character that I absolutely love, and then there are other ones that I'm kind of they kind of distract me. So, okay, do not take this the wrong way. She is bordering between decent/neutral and pretty good, okay? If there was a tier in between this, just a pure, just empty tier, Sundew would be in that. I don't know really where to put her on this list. And now we have Swordtail. I've talked about this before in the past. I did not care for Swordtail throughout Arc 3 until the Flames of Hope. The Flames of Hope made me fall in love with Swordtail. He was just written, just spammed, just suddenly so well, and I was like, oh my goodness, now I actually care about him. And that was perfect for that book. That is a huge praise I will give to Tui for the Flames of Hope. I know I've been vocal about it. I didn't like the book that much, but Swordtail was a huge standout in the Flames of Hope, and took on a whole new personality that made me like him. So, if we were talking about the earlier parts of Arc 3, though, he would be in decent/neutral. But if we are talking about the Swordtail we've gotten to see, at least with some of the things relating to the Chrysalis and everything wrong with the Flames of Hope, I'm putting him in pretty good. Now we have Tamarin. I love Tamarin. Oh my goodness. She is such a good character. I am putting her in awesome. She 100% deserves that tier. She's a really good character, and I don't think people give her the credit she deserves sometimes. Now we have Tao. Oh, another one. Now we're getting all the underrated characters at the bottom of this list. Tao has my heart. I love her so much. One of my favorite Silkwings, just of all time. She is so good. I am definitely putting her in awesome, as well as with Tamarin. And Tao is just great, okay? she just stands out a lot, and she's really unique compared to some of the other Silkwings, so yeah, I love 𝙈. She deserves a ton more attention and love. Now we have Tempest. I know Tempest is a fan favorite for those who have read the Winglets, and I quite enjoyed her, to be honest. I got myself a little bit, like, overexcited, like, oh my goodness, people love Tempest, and I'm gonna love her. I say she's pretty good, so definitely another character that was just completely different from anyone else we've gotten to see. I loved her personality. I thought it was super unique and well written and totally fitting. Fitting in the way of it kind of contrasted everyone else around her, and it just worked well. I think it's a better way of saying it. And the Librarian. Even though we do not know a ton about her, I'm not putting her in that tier because we did get to see some of her true self, and I enjoyed her. Again, we're getting to all the underrated characters. Super good, deserve some love. And now we have Thorn. Thorn is pretty good. Definitely the best dragon. For her position, 100% the best. And she has grown on me a ton since I read The Brightest Night. I think there are some things about her, though, that people don't necessarily talk about. I might do an analysis on Thorn someday, but I think pretty good is a solid tier for her. Now we have Tsunami. Interesting. Where would Tsunami fall on this list? I don't like Tsunami in some ways in her book. There were a couple scenes in her book that fell off, but other than that, she was pretty good. I cared for Tsunami a lot, actually. Another one that I've grown to like a little more. Turtle. Just like I said earlier, Turtle is one of my all-time favorite characters in the series. One of my comfort characters, probably, and just one of my favorite characters in general. Of course, he's getting top tier on this list. S-tier character. I love him so much, and I'm glad to see him get the attention he deserves lately. Whirlpool. Now this is the one that no one can debate me on this. If he was on fire and I had water, I'd drink it. And I think most of you guys would do the same too. Whirlpool is just such a nasty dragon. Although he was written actually really well. I know my friend Rady talks about that a lot. I think as a character and a villain and antagonist, he was written great, which is why I hate him so much, and he's creepy, and he's weird, and yeah. Typhoon. We don't know enough, although I do know Typhoon was a fan-made character that was put in the series. But Typhoon did appear actually a decent amount, and was mentioned, but we just didn't get a lot of, like, his actual character, so I don't really have any way to judge him. And now we have Vengeance. Ooh, I liked Vengeance, even though he only appeared briefly. I liked him. I will say decent to neutral, though, because some of these other characters, I would never put Vengeance above, like, that minor character over some of these major ones I like more, so simply for that, I'm putting him a little lower. And we have Vermilion. I remember some parts of Vermilion. I cannot recall every single detail about his character, but I think in general he was really fascinating, kind of with, like, loyalty things going on. I will say decent neutral. I'm kind of deciding maybe don't know enough, because we really don't, but in some ways I actually liked him. And now we have Viper. Again, a really underrated character. I will say decent neutral, though, simply because we didn't see a ton. And I'd love to learn more about her, though. She has a lot there's a lot that could go on with her character, and like a winglet about her past and things like that. Just in general, False Giants of Destiny deserves some justice. And then we have Vulture. I am also very vocal and open about how I think Vulture is the biggest wasted opportunity villain in the entire series. Vulture and Hawthorne are both, like, incredible, huge wasted opportunities. I even did a whole video about Vulture before, and what could have gone with this character. I don't like him as a character, obviously. 𝙒𝙗's grandfather, just terrible dragon. And the writing behind him, there's just so much that could have been done that wasn't, and I felt disappointed overall. He felt like an afterthought for the most part. Just kind of something we came up with in the planning stages for that book specifically, and then we never hear from or see him again. And I'm not happy with that. I really wish something else could have been done with him instead. Now we have Wasp. As the series goes on, the villains just kind of get worse, in my opinion. Wasp could have been a menacing beast, like, total great villain character to kind of end things off with. And she fell flat. She really did. You know, if they're going with like the whole like, you know, you don't really get to see her and then finally she appears, and it did not. The execution just did not go well. It really didn't. As a character, I would say not very good. I wouldn't say I'd hate her, but could have been done a lot better. And now we have Webs, one that I think was not done justice for what's been talked about with this character. In the books, he was just completely robbed of everything we got to see. Only in flashback and stuff. Seeing how joining the Talons of Peace really affected his whole life and his family's life and everything. It's actually quite emotional, and it's really deep. And we see Webs kind of from a different lens and everything else, and in general, after that point, outside of all the things going on with, like, especially in The Lost Heir, his character really deteriorates, but I'm not putting him low on this list simply because of some of the stuff that went on in his past. Even though we've never gotten to see it, it all was really fascinating. And we have Whiteout, one of my favorites for sure. I'm deciding, you know what, I'm gonna put her in absolutely amazing. She deserves top tier. Whiteout is a really good character. I love her prophecies, especially the way she says them, like totally different from any other dragon we've gotten to see with those abilities. And in general, just a huge, just completely stole the show in Dark Star Legends whenever she was on the page. So I completely understand why people love Whiteout. Willow, I like just a little bit more than Sendu, if I'm going to be honest. Although they're both solid characters. I'm not denying that they're both solid characters. But Willow in general, I just vibe with her personality a lot more, and there's some stuff going on that I really like. We're nearing the end of this list, you guys. So thank you so much. If you've been watching this whole hour, I appreciate you so much. Oh my goodness. Please include in your comment that you heard this part. Except if you skipped to the end, but we're not even at the end yet, so you wouldn't really be skipping here. I don't know. But if you have been watching this long, thank you. And a little fun fact, I've recorded this over 2 days. So there's a point around halfway through this video, yeah, actually like halfway through this video, that it's a totally different day now. It's a totally different day. And we love that. Okay. Winter, I really loved. Okay. He is so utterly complex. And there's so many things with this character that I really loved. Now, I get it. After Winter Turning, he was not done justice. Oh my goodness, Winter, after his POV book, he got the POV treatment, and bam, became way less interesting, personality totally changed, and all his development was for nothing. But the rocky process during Moon Rising and Winter Turning made me really fall in love with him. So if we're talking about that version of Winter, then I am putting him at awesome. And now we have Ren. So, I loved Dragon Slayer Ren for the most part. There were, 50-50 during the book, because there were some times that I really enjoyed Ren, and then there were other times where I didn't care for her. So, I would say I love Flower/Rose way more than Ren, but Ren got some of the cooler storylines, and in general cooler personality, and I like her backstory a ton, just same with Flower, so I will put Ren high up for that reason, but in the Legends book, 50-50. Some scenes, she's amazing, and in other scenes, I just kind of wish things would end. And now we have Big Tail, a character that was also not done justice. I feel really bad for him. We do not know a ton, so I liked him. I'm gonna say I like him, but I don't know enough about him to, properly rank him, if you get what I'm saying. He died way too early. Rest in peace, Big Tail. You were great. But it wouldn't feel right to rank him on this. Now we have Blue. I'm just simply gonna put him at decent/neutral. And another case of, there were only a few scenes with Blue I think I really enjoyed. You know what? I'm gonna say not very, no, okay, I'll leave it at decent/neutral. I'll give him that. I've been saying it with a bunch of characters, but I wouldn't say Blue's entirely bad, just not character I really connected with in any way, and just the Lost Content's my least favorite book in the series, and he happens to be the POV of it. I don't know if his POV is also what makes me dislike it, probably plays a big part in that, simply with how the story was told, so. And then we have Clay. Clay I really liked out of the Art of Destiny. He was kind of like the big brother. to the Dragonettes, and he was a good leader, and quite realistic as a character in some ways, and quite different from anything I've ever experienced or anyone I've ever met, which was a really cool experience. And now we have Cricket, like her a little bit more than Blue, so I'm gonna say pretty good, to be honest. Cricket was a good character, and I prefer what I did with her character in, like, my What If. If you guys have ever seen my What If Sundu got taken over by the other mind, I would totally recommend that, by the way. And I love what I did with Cricket in that, and I loved Cricket, like, leading up to everything. I think Lost Continent, the romance was stale and rushed, but after that, I think Cricket was done super, super well. There are some scenes in Lost Continent where she did get a shine, but I wish Cricket's character could have been handled a little bit better towards the end. She started off kind of rocky, then took off really well, and then ended a little bit rocky, but that's been discussed in other videos, so I won't go too much into it. Now we have Raven. We don't know a lot about Raven. Ooh, this is hard. We don't know a ton about Raven. Although, we did get to see some stuff that I actually liked. She seemed like a really fascinating character, so you know what? I'll give her pretty good. She was, decently good. And then 𝙈𝙤𝙁𝙁. They were kind of like a copy of Cricket. I know that was kind of the point, like, oh, Cricket finally met a dragon that's just like her. Met a human that was just like her. And they both shared some of the same fascinations. I loved it, but I think 𝙈𝙁𝙁 could have been in the Flames of Hope a little bit more, maybe had some kind of role, even if it was minimal. Just 𝙈𝙁𝙁 didn't do that much, which I kind of feel sad about, since they had a ton of potential, so I will say decent / neutral, but if we got to see a little more, then for sure they'd be higher on my list. And then we have Freedom. Ooh, Freedom is one that I don't know how I necessarily feel, but not in like a bad way. I do like Freedom. So I will say she is bordering between pretty good and awesome. She is really bordering. There were some things about her character, just like choices made by the author, that I was kind of like, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, I think Freedom was a good character. And we have Cottonmouth, most likely my least favorite character in the entire series, totally bland, stale, just a stereotypical villain, and not a threat at all. Just, oh my goodness, I hate Cottonmouth so much in every way. He has no redeemable qualities that I can think of, like, whatsoever. Now we have Pearl as our last and final character to rank. Pearl is an interesting one, because another one I don't really know how to feel. She was kind of portrayed different ways in Darkstalker Legends, but I would say she was pretty good, just in general. I think after she becomes queen, there were some decisions that, just as a character she made, that I was kind of like, I don't really like that, but I think she was actually written pretty well. I think Pearl deserves more attention, and I remember reading, one of the two, Peril or Pearl, I remember reading as the opposite name, I cannot remember which one, and it bothered me so much, I had to do tons of mental adjustments. Okay, thank you all so much for making it to the end of this massive video. Here are my final results. We have all the characters ending up in absolutely amazing, awesome, pretty good, decent / neutral, not very good, I hate you, if you weren't fire, I'd water, I'd drink it, and lastly, just simply don't know enough to properly judge. Favorite characters rank kind of low. I'm sorry, this is just my own personal opinion, it's not fact at all. And I'm actually kind of surprised that a lot more characters didn't end up higher. I guess really thinking about it, some of them, I don't have too many complaints about characters. Really, there are only like a handful, or countful, of characters that I didn't like, just in, like, as a writing standpoint. I just did not like them at all. So, that was very rare. I think every character is written decently well, and I like what happened with them. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!